Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, Ryan here with my guest, Randy Hurtado. This is the Growth Minded Contractor. You're probably watching us on YouTube or listening to us on Spotify, so thank you for tuning in. Man, you guys are in for a great treat, and we're hanging out at Randy's ranch. So, Randy, where are we right now?
We are currently located at Great Redeemer Ranch, just outside of Glen Rose, Texas.
Awesome. So where's Glen Rose for those who don't know?
It is southwest of Fort Worth.
Awesome. Man, it is awesome. Not too bad of a drive, but hanging out here at his beautiful 60-acre ranch in this brand new home. And man, this is quite the blessing we're in right now.
Yes.
So what's the Great Redeemer Ranch name? What's that about?
Well, when we bought the ranch, we wanted to obviously name it. And my wife and I thought of a few different names for it, but ultimately we wanted to give an homage to the creator that gave it to us. And so Jesus being the great redeemer of our sins, we decided to give it Great Redeemer Ranch, and it's stuck, and we love it.
Love it, man.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell the audience who might be listening, the 10 listeners on our podcast, dude, I just want to acknowledge how much you hustle, but you also are so humble and so meek in the Lord, and you carry yourself in such a way that glorifies God, man. So I just want to say that's super rare in roofing, as I get to meet a lot of roofing contractors. And I just love your boldness about who you are, what you believe in, and how you go about your business. So I just want to say that for those of you listening, this is the kind of guy Randy is. So man, thanks for being that way. Yeah, tell us a little bit about your personal life. Kind of who are you? You're doing a lot of cool stuff. Yeah, let's hear that a little bit about you personally.
Personally, I am first and foremost a child of God. Been married to my wife since 1999. We've been together since 1990. So we started dating when I was 13 and she was 11. So one of those old timey type stories. Met her at church of all places, though I was not a churched kid at the time. I had a buddy who invited me to that Wednesday night youth night.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, we play games. They feed us, and then we have some worship and the Bible study. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll go. And then I started going for the wrong reason. It's because I saw this cute blonde across the room, and she was attending, but God got a hold of my heart ultimately. And yeah, we've been together ever since. And we have 6 children. God put on our heart years ago to adopt. So we have 2 biological children and 4 adopted, 3 from Costa Rica, 1 from China. And all of them are our kids, and we love them dearly. And they've so far given us 4 grandchildren, and many more to come, I'm sure. But yeah, that's the personal side.
How old are you again?
I am 48.
48, granddad of 40.
I am a granddad. So I'm a young granddad, which is cool because I get to have fun with my grandkids without, when I'm on the floor with them and stuff, getting up, it's still sometimes it hurts a little bit, but probably not as much as if I was in my 60s or whatever.
Such a blessing, man. Yeah, we're sitting in here. This is the dream. I'm over here sitting in the dream. You got, you're a grandparent with this house and the kids coming in and out, and the way that they're gonna come. I don't know. It's just there's a lot to say about that.
Yeah.
For your family.
Well, 2 of our grandkids live here on the ranch. My daughter and her husband built on the property
awesome.
years ago, so we're able to see those 2 frequently. And then our other 2 baby boys, they come over at least once a week, and we're able to see them and spend time watching them grow. So loving seeing our youngest daughter be a mom, and my son-in-law and everything. So yeah, it's just great.
And I got to meet Maximus earlier, one from China. What part of China is he from?
So he is originally from I'll say it wrong, Jiangdong province. It's actually where their basketball team comes from. So there's a good chance that he might be pretty tall. He's already grown quite a bit in the last year. So
that's cool.
Yeah, but Max came to us. We thought we were done. And then one day while I'm driving down the road, I say, babe, I think God's calling us to adopt one more time. And as I'm saying that, she's on her phone. I didn't know. And she goes and shows me a little boy she's been looking at and reading his story. And so, yeah, like I said, God always knows what.
Bro, you're messing with me already. I'm going to lose it.
It literally happened just like that.
Spirit of adoption. It's God's heart, that's because we're adopted.
We are adopted.
It's amazing. When we were far off, and now we're not. It's amazing. I love that. So tell us so you've been married to April for a long time, got a beautiful family, and we're sitting in this brand new home. This doesn't happen by accident, right? So what's the Lord done in your business and in your family? How did you get into this business? How did you start to kind of get this success and abundance that you're walking in? Like tell us a little bit about that journey.
Sure. Well, I grew up in California. For those of you that are watching that are in Texas with us, don't hold it against us. We got here as quick as we could, as they say. And my original, I knew right out of high school I did not want to go to college. While I've always been a student of whatever I wanted to get into, I was never a great student when it came to my academics. I was a B student, but I hated it. And so I knew as soon as I graduated that I wanted to get right into the workforce. I tried several different jobs, and I landed in IT security of all places, and didn't know anything about it, but I'm a student. And so I said, well, what I don't know, I can learn, and spent 24 years serving our customers in the IT security software area. Did a lot of cool things at the Pentagon and with
Wow,
Fortune 100 companies, going in and showing them how to keep the bad guys out of their network
that's cool.
and come up with mitigation strategies for that. So when I tell people that, and then they find out I own roofing, I'm an owner in a roofing and constructions company, it's kind of awkward. But yeah, the story behind that was just I was obviously next door to DT Roofing, doing my consulting, and I got a call from the owner of the company I was consulting for saying that they just got bought for $100 million by a private equity company, and they didn't need my services anymore. And he was really, it was a really hard message for him to deliver because we worked together for a long time, but
Wow.
it is what it was. And I had been praying that God give me a path to take a different career path. And DT Roofing was right next door. I've been talking with Derek, my now partner, who founded the company in 2009, and walked into his office and said, hey, you know how you've been trying to get me to come on board full time? I said, I start tomorrow. And he's like, wait, what? And yeah, the rest is history. Derek really understood roofing really well, understood construction, but sales was not a strength of his.
Yeah.
And sales has always been a strength of mine, understanding relationships,
Yeah.
understanding marketing. And so I brought that to the table. And a few short years later, he gave me equity in the company. And we've just grown it into a multi-company business. And DT Roofing is its most successful one so far. But yeah, it's been great.
So do you have other entities that you both are partnered in, or is it the same one, just different divisions of the company?
No, actually, that's something I've spoke on is I don't advise that companies, once you figure out you're good at something that doesn't fit your primary company, create a separate company, because
Okay.
it tends to screw your P&Ls up when you don't know if you're actually good at the other thing. You may have a roofing company and you want to dabble in construction. At the end of the year, you may have more revenue, but your net profit is lower. And if you were to break them all out, realize you're actually good at construction, you just suck at your books, and you're not really making really good money at construction. So what we did was we actually spun off several different companies based on areas where we felt in our area they were either poorly served or underserved. And so I wasn't interested in getting into a business where there was a lot of competition and people were really good at what they were doing. That didn't make sense. So we started a garage door and service company. We started a construction company that now builds homes, built this home, does remodels, additions, patios, pergolas.
Got it.
A natural transition out of in the roofing side was we started a commercial roofing company, because I do believe, and everybody that has ever dabbled in either knows, those are two entirely separate businesses.
Very much so.
Entirely separate. And so we started a commercial roofing company, and then we also have a gutter company that we started. And many of those companies feed off of each other,
Yeah.
but they also serve other even competitors, which is ironic when we hear that other roofers
gutter.
buy their garage doors from me, or
Oh, wow.
other construction companies that I may have lost a home build to, but they buy their garage doors or their gutters from me. And so it's that cohesive relationship type mentality where they'll even send business our way. Maybe they only build from the ground up. Well, we have a division that does remodels, so they'll send their old customers to us to do the remodel.
Cool.
So relationships do matter, and
Yeah.
that's kind of where we at. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I remember. I see that occasionally, but you've done it really more than I've seen most. Like let's say a commercial roofer they make their own metal because it's so much metal that they're doing. They're fabricating their own metal. They end up just creating a metal company and selling that to their smaller roofing competitors or
Well,
something.
yeah, because it allows you to exactly that. No other competitor is going to buy their metal from a company that's named something roofing, right? So Guardian seamless gutters, it doesn't say anything about DT roofing on the trucks, and so other roofing companies that know us to be upstanding, they don't have a problem using
Mm.
Guardian seamless gutters, but they say if you're going to show up with DT roofing and gutters on your truck, I probably don't want to use you.
Totally.
So
That's awesome, man. So back to like some of the personal stuff. Your your personality too. You've been on Facebook more actively in the last 2 or 3 years in the industry.
Mhm.
You're really like doing some you're just active and you're promoting the services that you use. You've been made yourself available. You've spoken now more recently. Just tell me a little bit about like what you're seeing in the roofing industry. What are you gravitating toward when you're out in the industry? What are you kind of gravitating away from in terms of whether it's model, thought process, maybe way people are doing what they're doing? I would like to just hear kind of as you're wading your way outside of your world and you're
Mhm.
out in the industry, what are you seeing you line up with and repel from in terms of like not necessarily saying individual people, but just what's out there,
Yeah.
and like what are you going for?
Part of what my intentions are when I'm out in the industry is I love to see people succeed. And that is counterintuitive to business in the traditional form
Yeah.
because most people that run a business probably want to see their competitors not succeed. But the mindset is that if we're collaborating, the industry as a whole gets better. And then the customer experience gets better. And that ultimately reflects on my company's success when the customer has a great experience. Where I'm seeing a lot of changes coming is in the insurance side, the storm market side.
Mhm.
Um, I believe that in 18 to 24 months, most storm related companies will have to take more of a retail model in order to be successful.
How long ago?
I would say 18 to 24 months. Yeah, because of the percentage of deductibles. The deductible percentage is raising quite a bit.
Does that change for you guys in this market?
Oh, certainly. Yeah. And so where some would look at that as a negative, I actually don't, because when you consider I'm a consumer, right? And if I have to make a decision with my money, before I only had to pay $2,500 deductible to get my whole roof replaced. I might go with just whoever knocks on the door and sounds slick. But when it's 3% and I'm paying now $7,500 out of my pocket, I'm going to be a lot more specific about who I use.
Absolutely.
Because now more of my money is going out. It's not the insurance money,
Yep.
all of it. And so when you're set up to be a company who has a great reputation, is known for service, everything, you're likely to get that business.
Yep.
And so that's one area where I'm encouraged, where others I've heard are kind of distressed about. And then offering financing is huge. And that's something we didn't do for years. In fact, we just started that approach in the last 18 months. And so offering financing definitely sets you apart, where you have a customer that maybe can't afford that higher deductible. You already have a solution out of the box. And so I'm sorry to see that become more prevalent in our industry. And I'm encouraged by that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have an idea of your percentage of sales or deductible sales that are financed right now? You have an idea?
So last year, so we started looking into it 18 months ago, went all in about 12 months ago. And our guys, I think Chris Scoville will correct me, I'm sure, but around $750,000 of our business, and that was a majority of that, and that's just financed. Those are deductibles and upgrades.
Okay.
We haven't really had a whole lot of success, and I say success, but necessity for customers to finance the entire job because their insurance company was still paying for a good majority of it. But that's allowed, if you consider that's allowed $750,000 of potentially either business that wouldn't have happened at all because they couldn't afford their deductible or upgrades. moving to stone coated steel so they're not replacing their roof every 5 to 7 years, or something to that effect. So I see that being a huge shift in the industry that some companies saw coming sooner than others. We weren't one of them. And so we jumped on board with the financing side. And
we use Chris.
we do, yes. Yeah, we're definitely an Improvify company, and we love even their most recent changes and product offerings have really helped us quite a bit.
Chris,
Plug.
good job, buddy. Made it on the podcast.
There you go.
Awesome. Sweet. So that's good. Very good insight. Appreciate that. What else are you seeing out there in the industry that you're kind of, seeing trends, you're paying attention, you're gravitating toward, away from? Anything else?
No, I don't. I mean, other than companies are separating their services on the commercial and residential side a lot more, which makes sense. I've heard one leader in our industry that said he used to do residential, and then when he had his first taste of commercial, he never went back. I don't mention his name because I don't understand that mindset. Like, why not just have two companies that can both smash it,
Yeah.
And so, but I do see companies understanding the mindset of separating them and attacking both service needs separately.
Yeah.
Because if you try to run a commercial company like a residential company, you'll fail. And not necessarily in serving the customer. You could do a good product on there. You just won't be profitable, because if you're commissioning your sales guys the same way as you do on residential, you're not gonna have a whole lot of profit. Because there's not as much profit on the commercial side. So
more overhead on the commercial side.
absolutely, yes.
It's a different business, different structure, different culture. Yeah, that's cool. So, I mean, I know you've been a little bit outspoken about this, but like private equity, for example, I think you guys are kind of like just not biting right now. Or
Yeah, we've had a few approach us, and I would say that if DT Roofing ever goes private equity, it won't be because we're trying to cash out. It will be because it's an opportunity to grow the company faster than we would have if we would have been able to do it organically.
Okay.
I remember years ago when I first met with you talking about sales transformation group solutions for our residential sales team. I remember saying, we're a $20 million company or a $50 million company just waiting to happen. And at the time we were around 15 million or what have you. And that's happened pretty quickly. Like, we closed 30 million in revenue last year in the residential side, but overall our companies did 40. And that a lot of that has to do with just, staying focused and putting in a process and then following it,
So powerful.
and so, but you could only do so much, and with the resources you have, not only monetary, but also human resources to grow. And so if we were ever go that route, expect to see DT explode, because that's why, is, when you get infused with cash, you're able to open up an office here, here, and here, where that would have happened over 2 years, maybe at one location, So,
Yeah, that's really cool.
so I'm not anti-PE. I just think that too many people consider it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, what are those reasons that you think that are wrong?
Well, they're trying to exit, and just it may be the right reason for them, but not necessarily for the health of the company. They're trying to exit just to cash out and get a nice little payday up front. But if you're doing it, and so I think that's the wrong reason. I also think that there's a lot of predator PE companies out there.
Okay, like
predatory, where I've never understood a private equity that says, if you make $1 million or more in revenue, give us a call. It's like, you know what you're doing. The net profit isn't going to be super high on $1 million business. So it's almost like they're coming in to buy the company just to do a couple of changes and then flip it real quick. And that doesn't have the best interest of the staff that may have helped get that company to where they are in their early journey. So yeah, that's who we would have to talk to, is somebody who understands a bigger vision of explosion and growth.
Who have you seen engage in a way that you get excited about, or in terms of if you, I'm not saying like it's like you said, if you were to do private equity, okay, well, let's just say those who have done private equity, who have you seen out in the industry that seems to have done it in a way that is more modeled after if you were to do it and they've done it right, and you loved what you've seen? Is any of that happened for you? If not, no worries.
I would say that it probably has more to do with the fact that the people that I do know, it's their character that probably is the reason why I'm happy they did it, because I know what their intentions are, the Martin Pettigrews, the Jason Reisman, stuff like that. Um, I know that they're going to take advantage of it, not from just a standpoint of monetary advantage, but also explode their businesses, because they were already doing that prior to jumping on with private equity. So those would be two examples of people, Ty Meredith, that I respect greatly for what they've done, but they were very hyper focused on it not affecting the team.
Yeah.
Where there's some that are just like, it's not mine anymore. I don't care. I don't have majority equity anymore. So it is what it is. You could tell that they, and just seeing what they've done with the businesses since they went that route, that they were highly hyper focused not only on the success of the company, but making sure that the people that helped them get there were continued to be taken care of. And,
Really good.
yeah.
Sweet. So what's like a day in the life for you look like? I mean, you're managing all this. I mean, some people may be watching this and are listening and like, bro, how does he do all that? Like, how does he have the time? Like, is he stressed out of his mind? Is he not? I mean, talk about, like, first off, I guess maybe how do you maintain a sense of peace and your inner being, with your faith?
Yeah.
Talk about how what do you think about what's your flow there? And then let's talk about how you spend your time on a pretty regular basis that you can help us understand.
Yep. So I start every day, and this isn't going to be a shocker so far as what we've talked about, a lot of faith. I start every single day in a program called Bible Recap.
Okay.
And it's a chronological read of the Bible over a year.
Love it.
And the reason why I really like that model is because it actually reads the Bible chronologically, so that oftentimes I would read the Bible from cover to cover, and I was confused, because I'm like, I thought I read that already. And it turns out.
Wait. So I've never done that before. So Genesis, it starts.
You're right.
But then,
like 10 chapters into Genesis, it reads the entire book of Job.
it reads Job.
And then picks up at Genesis 11, because it's chronological. And so then, like in 2nd Chronicles and Samuel, there was a lot of talk about David. And in 2nd Chronicles, it talks a lot about the positive stuff in David's life. But Samuel, it talks about everything, the bad, good, bad, and the ugly. So I would read something in 2nd Chronicle and go, I know I've read this before. And I'd never correlated
I
the
totally
two.
know what you're saying.
And so what they do is they'll do like 1 Samuel this, and then the next chapter will be 2nd Chronicles that, because it's the same story.
I bet that, like,
just from a different
streamlines your
perspective.
brain with, like, what you're
And
reading.
so it allows you to better understand. So I was understanding it a lot better. And then there's, of course, no one's ever going to convince me that, Numbers and Deuteronomy and Leviticus and stuff is just very like law-based everything. So it's like, goodness, like, give me some coffee. Yeah. But what I love about it is at the end of each read each day, there's a perspective. Like there's a 5 to 7 minute recap. That's why it's called Bible Recap, where she talks about, her name is, I'm gonna mess it up, so I won't say it. Terry Lee Cobble, that's her name. And she actually, she talks about what we read today and perspective.
So you're reading it into the little video and like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And so I start every day with that. And then get ready, head out of the house around 7:30. And I work every single day, every Monday through Friday. I don't understand business owners that just kind of sit at the house and count their cash and look at their P&Ls. I'm very hands-on. My staff will tell you that I'm in the office every single day for the most part. There are days where they don't see me at all, but I'm still out doing meetings and what have you. And I've stepped back. I used to be a salesperson in the company, and since I became owner, I stepped back, and instead of working in the business, working more on the business. And that allowed us to prop up these new companies ultimately, because it gave me time to reach out to other, which is why I'm really big on when another roofing company owner reaches out to me. I remember being that guy and reaching out and going, hey, how are you handling this? And then that person would take the time to pour into me without saying, well, swipe a credit card here first, and then I'll help you. And so that's why I don't have a problem doing that, as long as time permits it. So I do spend some time in that area,
good.
kind of doing some
Mentoring.
mentoring. Yeah, not consulting, but mentoring those, and I get a lot of joy out of that. I really do.
Yeah.
And it's kin to what my sales VP Mitch does for our sales team, and so and I do believe that the golden rule, God gives back what you get put out there, and so
Yeah.
I think that's why he continues to bless us and with their successes, because he sees my heart in that. It's not about, well, if I tell this guy that's literally a competitor in my own town a little trick that we do, he's gonna win business against. So okay, he may, but one thing I always like to say is, you're never gonna outwork me. You can know all the secrets to the success, but you'll never outwork me. So yeah, so that's kind of what my day looks like. I get home generally around 5:30, 6 o'clock. Every once in a while, I'll call and say it's going to be a late night. I'll, probably eat dinner without me, but that's very rare. And yeah, then spend time with my bride and do work on the ranch.
So do work at like before sunset kind of thing on the ranch? You'll putz around out here?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, it just depends on what needs to be done. Some of our animals are just grazers. Some of them have to be fed, and so we'll go out and feed them. My wife will take care of some of them during the day because she does work from home, the home office. She works for the company, and
Okay, cool.
so she'll get some of those tasks taken care of, and then sometimes on my way home, she'll like, hey, on your way up to or back to the house, can you feed the pigs? That way I don't have to leave to go do it again later or what have you. But recently we had a calf drop, and so we've been hyper focused on making sure the baby's okay, but mama's doing a good job and everything. So
That's awesome, man.
yeah, but I love it. I absolutely love it.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So and what are weekends these days looking like for you?
Spent a lot of time with friends and family. We built this house for community.
Sweet.
We literally built it. I mean, we built a fantastic pool for the summer and springtime, and we have our Bible study here every other weekend with our Bible study group, and we built this for community. So we love having people over. We love cooking, and yeah. So that's. My wife is half Mexican, and so he lived in California. It was like every weekend, the entire family was over at the grandparents' house, and so I love that culture. I love community.
It's good.
And being around people. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. What are some of the people that you're heroes to you that you follow or have really inspired you, either as like a far off an author, a speaker, or someone that you call on? So who are some of those heroes for you on any part of your life that you follow?
So I have a lot that I study apologetics, which you're familiar with it. And so there's a lot of resources that I absolutely love and follow.
Yeah, you do posts on Facebook, like kind of proof of God.
Mhm.
You do stuff like that. I think that lines up. Okay, so you'll say, I appreciate that. I didn't really actually.
There's a story behind it, and we can maybe cover it another time. But the short story is, my daughter was dating somebody she thought she was going to marry. And then he came to her and basically said that he didn't believe that he needed God anymore because his professor at college told him that evolution was the reason why God didn't need to exist. So she came to me like, Daddy, fix this, because they were going to get married right out of college.
Wow.
And I liked the guy, and I was happy they were married. And I had nothing. He came to me. I was a Christian. I was a Bible believing Christian. But when he started throwing his evolutionary stuff at me, I was like, at that point, I was probably like most Christians that don't really think about it. I was thinking, well, if evolution's true, God controlled the process. It was kind of like a cop out, until I actually started to study it, and I started to realize, like, no, that's not consistent with what the Bible teaches. And then I started to look at it, a famous atheist who's now a believer, Lee Strobel, said he doesn't have enough faith to be an atheist now after he actually studied it.
Case for Christ.
Yeah, Case for Christ, exactly. And so, so I love people like Lee that are bold in their faith and bring. I love also consulting with people on that type of stuff too. At my church, I'm kind of the apologist. Like, if
Nice.
our pastor knows that somebody's struggling with one of those topics, then they're like,
right.
hey, call Randy. He's looked into this stuff. And then I'll just ask simple questions, because I do think that sometimes people have that conversation and they want to be right, instead of just, what's your motivation there? Is it to help this person understand that God does exist and he's the creator of all and what he did, or to win an argument? because if it's to win an argument, you're doing the wrong thing. Like, that's not evangelizing. So,
Totally.
so that when
Great.
I'm not business, I'm not the family, I do love studying apologetics, the historicity of Christ.
So all right, so hey, let's role play. Hey, I don't believe in this Jesus thing.
Yeah.
You know, you know,
So what do you believe in?
you know, that we all kind of, it's like I'm like a nihilist.
Mm-hmm.
I'm role playing this.
Yeah. So we just exist.
Yeah, and we die and it's over.
So a lot of people that think like you think, science is their religion, if you think about it, because they believe that, you know, what we're told about the Big Bang, that nothing existed and then it exploded and turned into everything, which in itself is absurd. I mean, how can nothing explode into everything? I was actually just listening to a podcast recently with, of all people, Joe Rogan, who quoted, and I don't remember the guy's name that he quoted, but that guy was fully pro-science, anti-religion, and his comment was, science just asks us to believe in one miracle, and that is that nothing existed and then it exploded in the singularity and now everything's here. And then he was even admitting, he said, and you know, Christians talk about Christ raising from the dead and people think that that's crazy. He's like, well, I would believe that before I believe nothing exploded and created everything. He goes, I'm with Jesus on this one. And really oftentimes when you're talking to somebody that doesn't believe, a lot of what they say is surface level stuff. They haven't really put a lot of thought into what it is that they say they believe. You know, in what I've studied on both the scientific side and the biblical side, it literally is an easier, it makes more sense that a creator created all of this than it just happening out of.
Takes more faith to believe.
It literally takes more
It takes
faith.
more faith to believe that.
If you, but you also, it does help to understand what science teaches so that you can understand the folly in a lot of what science teaches.
Do you believe the earth is flat or round?
No, I believe it's round.
Okay.
I think it's definitely spherical. And I know that there's people out there that will disagree with that. And I don't like
Have you
getting
gone down that rabbit hole?
Oh, I mean, I don't really give a whole lot of thought to it, to be honest with you.
Because that one's a tricky one. It's a slippery one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Yeah. I would say, you know,
I was dicing.
you know, there's of all the planets, one of the coolest arguments I ever heard is, you know, you have the singularity, all the matter in the universe came together to something the size of a pinhead, and it spun at such a high revolution that it exploded. And he said, have you ever heard of the conservation of angular momentum? And of course I looked into it. He gave the example. He said, if you take a bunch of kids and you put them on a merry-go-round and you start spinning around, they're going to go through a few stages. At first they're going to be like, yeah, go faster. And then you go a little bit faster and then they're going to be quiet because they're just trying to focus on holding on. And then the final stage is they start screaming because they feel centrifugal force pulling them off.
Yeah.
When that kid finally leaves the merry-go-round in destination for that tree nearby, which way is he spinning? And the scientist goes, well, he's spinning the same way as the merry-go-round. Right. So why do we have 3 planets that spin the wrong way? You know, it was just simple questions like that, things they never really consider.
Right.
Like if everything's spinning and then they should all just spinning in the same way. Yet we have things that defy the you know, common sense. There's so much. This could be its own podcast.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But
so you have so that apologist in you side.
Mhm.
What about like the business side? Talk about that. Like, who are some of your people you look up to, listen to, pay attention to, whether people who are well known or maybe industry people? Who are those types of people?
yeah, I've mentioned one of them is definitely Martin Pettigrew.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really do appreciate his book, Roofing Machine. I've read it 3 times. And when I was getting into the roofing industry, actually, that was a book that was kind of like a study guide for understanding how to run a roofing company. And I've been really impressed with Hunter Bailey, obviously, and what he's done and his exits and his back end and his various businesses. Obviously, you're standing in front of me, but you know, years ago, I went to the second RoofCon. It was in Houston, I believe.
Yeah, the Houston one. Yeah.
And that's the first time I heard you speak from stage. This surfer dude that you didn't have long hair. Yeah, you're like, yeah. And you said some things up there that were just really like, man, I need to know this guy more. And so I looked you up online and followed you for a while before we got big enough where I felt like your services were really going to help
awesome.
change our company up. So, gosh, seriously, you put me on the spot, but there's definitely guys I hear speak from stage oftentimes at these conferences. And I'm like, man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know,
some really good people.
And I might
you're sharing.
cherry pick some of the little things that they do because I may not agree with everything that they say philosophically or what have you, or maybe the way they talk from stage or what have you. But there's a lot of people that are doing great things in our industry.
Yeah, they're so generous too.
I would say if I had to pick a single person that gave me the best example of what strong work ethic is, probably my father-in-law.
Wow, that's April's dad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what's his story?
He worked for Raytheon, and well, before that, worked for Hughes Aircraft. But
Wow.
he
My mom and dad worked for Hughes.
yeah, and then he, when Raytheon bought Hughes or Hughes bought Raytheon, what have you, he continued with Raytheon, retired from there. He helped design the radar detectors on the fighter jets and stuff like that. But I always saw a man who woke up at 4:30 every morning,
Wow.
went to work, came home at 4:00, loved his wife, loved his kids, and I didn't have a dad growing up, and so he was kind of like a dad figure for me. And so I was a knucklehead early on as a teenage boy, and he showed a lot of grace and showed me also that aspect of it too.
He's still alive?
Oh yeah, he's still alive. Yeah, he'll be out here in a couple of weeks. Yeah.
Oh man.
So he's a really good dude. Yeah.
Amazing. Wow. That's awesome. I love that. And that's probably why you're such a good dad too. You know, got to see a good example and needed one. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
You know, being a father type figure is so important. We need dads,
You know,
people who are there for us. That's amazing. So DT and companies, what's the vision? Where are you hoping to, is there anything that you're doing that's like, that you want to share in terms of where you're headed and what you're building? And
so outside of the DT companies, I'm actually part of the venture right now that is going to be serving service-based companies that have a hard time with customer retention.
okay.
And it's a compilation of both hardware and software,
Okay.
which fits perfectly with my background.
Okay.
And actually, I have the technology in my own house right now. It's getting ready to launch, and so that's exciting. It's a new venture, and so it'll allow homeowners to, it solves the problem, and I'll give the example with HVAC companies. The HVAC companies only have about a 30% customer retention rate.
Okay.
Because it's not because they do a bad job, it's because the customer doesn't need them as often. So when they do need them next, they forget who that guy was that came out last. Or they may remember that guy, but they'll go on to Google to call the guy, and it just costs that guy a lead with Google, right? I got to pay $50 for my own customer to call me.
Yeah.
And so this solution allows for the customer to just put their smartphone right up against their thermostat, and it drops down a microsite that allows them to launch a ticket or call the customer or call the company directly when they need service. They don't have to remember what their name was because the NFC tag inside the technology already remembers all that.
Is it going to be just for HVAC companies?
Initially, and then we're also going to be targeting other companies like garage door and service companies I have one myself that also has about a 30% retention rate. Being like a pool service company, they don't have that problem, right? Because they're here every single week.
I see.
And they sign up to be here every week. Or landscaping companies, not as big of an issue. My grass is going to grow and it's got to be cut every couple of weeks. But as long as my HVAC service system is working as it's supposed to, I don't need an HVAC guy. But if I can help companies better retain the customers they've already served in the past, their retention goes from 30% to 80%. They're not always constantly trying to backfill.
That's why they're doing the membership plans. A lot of them sell those memberships.
They do those as well. But when they're not successful in selling those every 6 months, come out, look at my system, this gives a way to retain those customers.
Another layer of retention.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So it's an exciting new venture that I've been, working on. I originally started more. It's funny, like I said earlier, God always, He always blesses where our hearts are in the right place. that the guys that started that company reached out just as a breakfast, like, hey, we've been following what you're doing with your companies, and we'd love to pick your brain on a couple of things if you don't mind. I'm like, yeah, no problem. Well, then it turned into, we'd really like you to come on board and help us launch this thing and sell it. And I'm like, let's do it. So where my heart was just, let me help a couple of guys out that have some questions.
Wow.
It opened up an opportunity for me to have some equity in a company. So
That's awesome, man. So we'll probably wrap with this. Give our listeners a rundown of your vendors, your favorite vendors, like people you work with. Just plug away.
Sure.
You do a great job with that. So I'd love to just tell our friends who you want to plug.
So first and foremost, obviously Sales Transformation Group. We've not only used them on our residential side, but they're the reason why we were able and confident to separate our commercial side and create its own business, because they have kind of like I like to call it a business in a box solution, where they kind of do all the heavy lifting for you and give you all the material and the concepts around your project managers and your repair techs and what have you, and what that looks like. That's a lot of what starting a business is trying to figure all that out. And it was already ready for us. So we've used both of those. We've even talked recently about some additional coaching for our sales VP, because he manages both the commercial and the residential side. Our CRM is RoofLink on the residential side. Super excited about having that in place. We've had it now for about 14 months, 14 to 15 months. Yeah.
Crushing them.
It has just been a game changer for us, because what I really like about it, especially with my technology background, is how malleable it is. It allows us to make it our own, instead of like, this is this rigid box that we've created, and as long as you can fit your business within our parameters, it's good. But as soon as you want to do something different, then it's super rigid.
Yeah.
And RoofLink's made it very very malleable, so that we can go in and create the reports we want and have just the data in front of us all the time.
Yeah.
And so
That's awesome.
And then of course they were recently acquired by Sales Rabbit, which was the company we originally used for our canvassing.
Sweet.
And so when we canceled our Sales Rabbit to put in RoofLink, because RoofLink already had a canvassing solution in it, then we heard Sales Rabbit was buying RoofLink for like score, because
That's cool.
best of both worlds all in one. So
Super cool.
so those are in the technology stack. We're big on directory. Using directories guarantee, because
plug for you, bro.
In markets where customers don't know us, it's always nice to be able to stand out from the other vendors when we say like, every single job that we do is backed by a guarantee from a third party. So you may not know us from Adam, but you're going to be protected.
That's awesome.
That's definitely helped us not only.
So tell people what that actually means. Like, so that means that you're listed on a third party, and then they're backing you with like up to $250,000.
Correct. If you register the job, it's $250,000. If you're just a member of directory, it's $20,000.
Okay.
And so
practically, what does that actually mean? Like, if something goes.
So the reality is if you're a company that is upstanding and going to do the right thing, you're never going to have a claim with directory. Mm-hmm. But in the case where, maybe I was, on the list, I was vetted, but for whatever reason, this customer calls directory and says, one of the examples was a siding job that was botched. Well, it turned out that guy had no place doing siding. He was a roofing company or something. And so, and then he was having financial problems. And so he wanted to do the right thing. He just could not. And so Dimitri came in, and
homeowner will call, or Dimitri will just the contractor will call Dimitri.
No, the homeowner calls to file a claim with directory. Yeah. So in that case, Dimitri paid another contractor about $9,000 to come out and do the job correctly. And so it worked out well for the homeowner. So if you're doing the right thing, then your goal is to never have but it's more protection for the homeowner than it is for us, because we know we're going to do the right thing.
It helps you stand out though when you have that.
Exactly. It helps you stand out.
You're an Improvify fan with Scoville. You're getting going with those guys. What else? Anything else?
Man, I'm going to get shot by somebody if I don't remember. I'm trying to think of that whole stack though. I think that pretty much sums up our tech stack. As a whole. We use Centerpoint on the commercial side for our CRM. We're still
marketing,
infant. Marketing is in-house.
Okay.
So we do all of our marketing in-house.
You're unpaid?
Yeah. Yeah. We have a VP of marketing in-house that takes care of all of that. We just recently sponsored a NASCAR and here at the Texas Motor Speedway. It was really neat. That's great experience. We were able to give some VIP tickets to customers and come out and have an awesome day. Morgan does an amazing job with our branding. And then we've recently, here's another one that we just signed up with, because Morgan, from the very beginning when I hired her, she said, I just want to be upfront. SEO is not my strong point. I'm great at branding. I can get your name in front of people. I'm not good at the SEO side. So we just had her enroll in the SEO roofing school with Dima.
Okay.
And so we're already seeing fruit from that. They excuse me. They take over the SEO side for about the first 3 months while Morgan is in school. And then after that, she continues to go to school. And part of schooling is working with other students, other marketing people, to pick ideas from them. And so she'll implement things. So it's been a great platform for us so far. And we're really good.
Is she your VP marketing, or she works under?
No, she is the VP of marketing. Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Man, that's great. Well, you're a salt of the earth guy. It's great to be in your world for a little bit. Hey, any final words for our friends?
I would say relationships and communication are the two key things in any successful business. If you have those two in place, everything else will happen. So don't make your business so process oriented that you forget that those are the things that are necessary in order to expand your business deep and wide. And then if you don't know Christ, reach out. I'll be glad to tell you about him.
Love that. Dude, thank you. It was a great time.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Just wipe off.
Yeah.
House pads.
Wow.
Just saying hi. I spoiled.
Fly off the hard pad.
You're like, no, you're not.
All right, that's it. Thank you so much, Randy, for the tour of the Great Redeemer Ranch. It's an amazing property. Got the landscapers finishing everything. Man, so I'm sure everybody watching this is all invited, of course.
Come on.
Yeah.
I said I like community.
All right, how can people be in touch with you if they want to hang out and talk?
Well, you can find me on Facebook, Randy Hurtado with the blue check mark. Message me there. I do have an Instagram as well that's tied in. It's at Glenrose Firefighter. I'm a retired fireman, so that's just stuck. Other than that, yeah, just reach out.
Awesome.
Be glad to help you.
Like, subscribe, comment. I hope you love this piece of content, and yeah, peace out.